You're not alone. If you need someone to talk to today, please contact Crisis Services Canada by either calling them at 1-833-456-4566 all hours of the day, or you can text them at 45645 at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Remember, you're not alone, and Crisis Services Canada is here to help. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions. I'm your host, Graeme Forsyth. Manitoba show Rise and Shine Manitoba is brought to you by Fabricland Winkler and our other sponsors too, Evolve Green, AETi, as well as Systems Beauty College. And in today's edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba, we're going to be starting off with talking about agriculture with the main man himself, Harry Siemens. Then we're going to dive into talking about some hockey with marketing director and goalie coach of Pilot Mound Hockey Academy, Gordie Tumilson, just talking about yesterday's 2-2 tie that their U18 Prep Female team had against the Pembina Valley Hawks. And we're going to talk about some other stuff too to do with the academy, just about the upcoming games that their teams have. And we're going to finish off with Graeme's opinion. No CFL power rankings today, no week 6 recap, but there will be week 7 predictions, as well as my predictions for who will win this year's Super Bowl. All coming up on this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba show here on ASTV Productions. And with that being said, you know what? It's time to do, Manitoba. It's time to rise and shine here on ASTV Productions. Well, I remembered to change the mug out today, not rocking with the coffee with Graeme mug. But yeah, before we bring on Harry, I just want to remind everyone that we are live right now on our Facebook at ASTV Productions, on our Twitter at Amateur Sports TV, as well as our website, astvproductions.com. If you want to say good morning on this Monday morning or want to chime in on the chat, feel free to do so. But yeah, let's get into the first guest in today's show on the Farm Report, presented by Wolf Enterprises. It's Harry Siemens joining the show now here on Rise and Shine Manitoba. Harry, been since Wednesday since we've talked last week. Great to have you back here on Monday morning. How you doing today?
I'm doing okay. I mean, it's the weather continues to be absolutely great. You know, it's not hot, and yet there's enough sunshine and enough wind to keep drying the crop and allowing the farmers to get their crop off. And first and foremost, the harvest progress by Manitoba agriculture, is I guess maybe we talked about it last week and Wednesday, because our show was on Wednesday, so one has to gauge it a little bit differently, because but at the same time, the crop report did come out last Tuesday, and it'll come out again tomorrow, Tuesday afternoon, and that's then good for the Friday before. So it'll be interesting to see, but I would say that we could well be 75 to 80% done as far as the harvest is concerned across the province. And the remaining crops will be soybeans. We have about 1.3 million acres of soybeans that need to come off, and And the farmers are telling me that in some cases, because the one part of the soybean field is dry and ready to go, the rains that came later set off a regrowth of some of the other stuff. So now they have to go in there and kill off the top of the plant. And so I think this week we will see the soybeans starting to come off. We're now in the middle of September, which is about normal. And then after that, once the soybeans are off, for those people that have corn, I think there's about 400,000 acres of corn across Manitoba. And then there's a couple of 100,000 acres of sunflower. Maybe that's a little bit much. And so all of that has to come off as well. And so it's interesting what is happening. I watch a Canadian agriculture WhatsApp group, and there's farmers from all across the world on that one. And the person who hosts that is, excuse me, is Louise Cardrunner. She's a grain buyer for a company out of Killarney. And the company isn't necessarily out of Killarney, but she is. And she's put together people from around the world that she picks and chooses to give her an idea of what's happening in agriculture. And she invited me on it as well. And so it's interesting to see. Right now, I'm looking at a fellow by the name of Glenn Verkine. He's just I think on the border of Manitoba and Saskatchewan. And he says, I would say the yields in general projected below average by roughly 15 to 18 bushels per acre on wheat, 13 to 15 bushels per acre on canola, and 35 to 40 bushels per acre on oats. So that's his crop. And there's other people that do that. And then the United States Department of Agriculture, which is kind of the so-called Bible in small capital or small letter, a so-called Bible of the markets and crops and so forth. They came out with a report on, I think it was Friday, and they're talking about the markets being a little bit bearish. And bearish means that the markets, when the markets are bearish, it means that the prices are actually going down a bit. And the reason they're going down a bit is because the crop in the U.S. is a bit better than what they expected. So we have the bears and the bulls in the marketplace. The bears are those that say the prices are going to go down. The bulls are saying the prices are going to go up. And so, that's when you hear about bears and bulls in the marketplace of agriculture, that's exactly what it means. The bears are the negatives and the bulls are the positives. And that doesn't reflect on those animals in either way. But somewhere years ago, somebody came up with that analogy, and it's good, So that's a great thing to see. So we're seeing markets, overall in the United States. That's where the price invariably gets set. So if that market shows it's a bit bearish, that means that the prices will come down a bit. That doesn't mean they're sinking into the ground. We've had record high prices, almost double of what they were last fall at this time. So a little bit of fluctuating back and forth is good to see.
Yeah, for sure, and that is an interesting way to put it, bears and bulls for sure. Just talking about where we're at right now in terms of just how the crops are looking with the I guess, like you said, it hasn't been extremely hot like it once has this year in the summer, but just looking at it, how do you see, the crops, going with the way things are going right now in terms of just the weather that we're going to be getting here in Manitoba?
Well, like right now, the rains didn't do much for most of the crops, but the rains did everything for fall tillage. When farmers harvest, take the crop off, some don't till, but they prepare it with some chemicals and some other products, put on fertilizers and so forth. But when it was rock hard, when we had, and I refer back again, I think I referred to her before, Jeanette Sabarin, her and her husband, Brunel, they run Antera Agronomy Services out of St. Jean, Manitoba. And I remember that one time when back in July, she put a yardstick, some would call it a meter stick of it, a yardstick from my old school. They put the yardstick into a crack in the soil.
Yeah.
And she put that yardstick down, I think 33 inches. So there was just 3 inches sticking out at the top. And that's a crack. I mean, that's not just she didn't shove it down so much as she just let it drop down to as far as it would go. That's how far it was dry. So we didn't have any moisture in the top 34 inches. That's pretty dry. And so that means that, and with the heat we had and the wind, that a lot of that ground was rock hard. So you can't do anything with that. So now we get 3, 4, 5, 6 inches of rain on that. It starts to mellow that soil. And now farmers can do with that soil what they would like to do in the fall. And for those people that have taken soybeans off, some farmers will probably put in winter wheat. And winter wheat, according to Manitoba Crop Insurance, needs to be in by the 15th of September. So if you see anybody out there tilling with an air seeder putting in a crop, that's winter wheat. So that winter wheat would go in anytime in September, even into October. And that wheat, because of the moisture in the soil right now in the topsoil, that means that wheat can germinate. Germinate means it sprouts and then it grows and it actually comes up above the ground, and you'll see it about this tall throughout the winter months. So then in the winter months, we want snowfall so that the snowfall can protect those precious little green shoots that have come up in fall. And then in spring, it gets a jump on the regular wheat. We have winter wheat planted in fall. We have spring wheat planted in spring. And so if that winter wheat comes through good, boy, it gets a head start. But if it isn't good, well, if they planted it before September 15th, they get crop insurance. They can put in regular spring wheat and still get a crop. So it's those kinds of things. So with the weather we've had right now, awesome. The guys are combining. The one thing we're seeing still, I think I've seen probably 2 or 3 combines on Twitter that have burnt. Tractors with one just out of Altona, complete tractor air seeder unit or grain cart burnt, and it's always those things that happen in fall. But because it was so drier earlier, we were seeing those kinds of fires. And you can see $1 million of equipment go up in smoke in lickety split. So far, nobody has been hurt. People are able to get out of their machines before they get injured. And then, of course, the other thing they don't want to see happen is that when a machine burns, it can also burn the field. So you get the fire department out to not so much save the machine. That one's pretty well gone. I mean, anytime a fire hits one of the machines, but they can stop the fire from spreading throughout that grain field, which may in some cases still need to be harvested.
Yeah, that's crazy, and that has to be just so sad if a machine burns out like that and a fire starts. I had no idea that was something that happens. But obviously with it's just the way it goes sometimes. But just how would a farmer recover from that if they have a machine like this that is a lot of money, just in terms of how they recover financially from something happening?
Well, for the most part, they have insurance.
Right.
They have fire insurance just like you would for your house, for your cabin. You have so that if it burns to the ground, you don't make money, but you have replacement costs, and that's what's. So here, a farmer loses a tractor, and it can be any whatever. For simple math, $500,000, $500,000. Well, he may have a replacement cost because it's used and so forth. So he gets his replacement cost. If he then wants to buy a new one, well, then he has to add the extra dollars to it. But so much of the equipment that farmers have is leased. It's a leasing program that the actual tractor manufacturers, they have their own leasing program. Take, for instance, John Deere, the green color. they have a massive leasing program. So you can go in there, lease that tractor, you run it for a couple of years. Next year, 2 years later, you lease a new one again. That one goes to somebody else that doesn't want a new one because he just doesn't. It's too much money. So it's a good program. So the farmer really isn't out. What happens sometimes if that farmer is a smaller farmer and he doesn't have any other vehicle or a tractor, you know what? The neighbors can come in and seen it so often. You know, if the combine burns, you know, before you know it, you may have 10. I've seen it. I've been there. Pictures. You know, 10 farmers come with one combine each, and you know, and that guy's crop is taken off. You know, the real positive stories is when a farmer has an accident and he's you know, or a family loses the father or the leader of that through death during harvest time. Boy, you know, then you see them pull together, and it's just like somebody organizes it and takes off that crop for these people just to make it not quite so hard when they have a loss like that at an untimely time and untimely. So it's you know what, agriculture for me has been such a wealth of you know, the well is never empty, right? I mean, I can go down into the well and pick up all kinds of real positive stories that have come along. I can also tell some real negative ones, but you know what? I prefer to talk about the positive, but still remain realistic.
Well, unfortunate that I'm unable to hear you right now, Harry. I don't know why this always happens, but there's a glitch in my mic, it seems, once again today. But you know what? Since we are running late on time, we will end off on this. What's your farming tip of the week here on Siemens Says for this week, Harry?
You know, I quickly wanted to say, you talk about hockey. I was a hockey dad. We had a daughter that played goalie for 6 years here in the minor hockey league in Winkler. And my tip, you know what? It's not about farming today. It's about when we were asked to come and put our daughter into hockey. I had no intentions of it, but I asked the fella in charge. He says, "Harry, we need a goalie, and we think she's a good goalie." I says, "What are the parents like?" "Well, we've got the best parents going." And you know what? For 6 years, whether it was soccer in school, ball, or hockey, I had a chance to get to know those parents. And what he said was absolutely great. The best part of that was traveling together with parents of like-minded, wanting their children to do well, but not necessarily criticizing every particular moment. My tip today is, if you're a hockey dad or a hockey mom, you know, don't take it seriously, but absolutely make sure everybody is able to enjoy that hockey time as you're going into the winter. There you go.
Well, I'm sure, as always, it's always some great words from a very wise man in the industry of agriculture, Harry Siemens, joining me once again here on Rise and Shine Manitoba on the Farm Report. Harry, thank you, as always, for taking the time of your Monday and coming on the show. It's always a lot of fun.
My pleasure.
Well, we're going to let Harry go now. We're going to go to our first commercial break here in this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba. Coming up on Manitoba's show, I'm going to be joined by Gordie Tumilson, goalie coach and marketing director of Mound Hockey Academy, and we'll talk about the 2-2 tie that the U18 Prep Female team had yesterday against Pembina Valley, as well as some other stuff as well. You're watching Rise and Shine Manitoba show here on AETi Productions. We'll be back after this commercial break.
Why go solar? Solar is better than ever. Our revolutionary design and inverter equipment with the latest in solar panel technology for the ultimate in-home and business security. That's right, I said security. Grid security and security of your home are linked. Fortify your future today with a battery backup system. No maintenance, quiet running. Did you know in Manitoba, grid-connected, off-grid, and battery backup systems are 100% right off in the year you purchase for any company or farm? Do you want to back up your internet, keep your tills running, and the lights on? We can install a system that is right for you with battery backup fully capable of taking on all those essential loads and keeping you running. When you call our experts at Evolve Green, ask about getting your free energy audit today. Call or email today to find out what system works best for you. 1-866-5EVOLVE or support@evolvegreen.ca. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.evolvegreen.ca.
Welcome back to Manitoba's show, Rise and Shine Manitoba, here on ASTV Productions. That was the great Harry Siemens joining me earlier on before we went to our first commercial breaks here in today's episode. Unfortunately, I was unable to hear Harry at the end there, but we'll sort out those technical difficulties for next week. And honestly, it might just be the way it goes just with this mic. Might have to roll with the AirPods next week. Forgot to charge them today. It's all good though, because we got Gordie Tumilson on the show now. Gordie, of course, goalie coach and marketing director, Pilot Mound Hockey Academy. And man, hockey is back at the academy, Gordie. It was so fun getting to cover that game yesterday. It was awesome talking to you between the first intermission after, having that game yesterday. What's the feelings been like around the academy after the tie game?
Well, everybody's really excited, Graeme, and thanks for being there yesterday and getting your show back on the air. And just, everybody was excited, whether you're a player or a coach or a fan. We had a really good crowd yesterday for the game, and that was really special. I think your color guy, Max, mentioned that. And so at the end of the day, it was really neat. There's a lot of excitement, a lot of anticipation. Glad to have a game. Good game. 2-2 tie worked out perfect for both teams.
Yeah, and that was one thing that was awesome to see, was just the crowd yesterday, seeing a normal crowd in hockey once again. Just speak about what that was like to see the crowd and to see them out supporting, not only Pilot Mound, but both sides as well.
Sure. I think your second intermission guest, one of our goalies, Kean Hodgson, said it best. He said, we haven't seen that kind of a crowd in a long time, and he's from Ottawa. And even there, they, don't get crowds. They get, parents and families come out, and that's about it. So you get 40, 50 people in the crowd from both teams, and that's what you have. Yesterday, we probably had 200 people watching that game, and that was really neat. It was all around the top level and on the stands and the side. So that was really good. And we were, and that just, the kids like to play in front of people and show their skills and whatnot. And that ramped up the excitement even more.
Yeah, for sure. And, the way this game transpired, of course, you guys go up 1-0. Pembina Valley comes back with two of their own. And then in the final minutes of the game, your team, the U18s, are able to tie it up. Just speak about how nice it was to see that fight from this group so early on in the season to fighting back and being able to tie a game like that.
Wow, that was really neat. So I said to people standing around me, here you got a group of girls coming from God knows all over northern Canada and in northern U.S. and here they are battling for the Buffalo for the first time. They went out, they sent out that final 6 people to score a goal in the last minute and a half, and they got the goal to tie the game. And that was thrilling. And we were happy with a 2-2 tie. I mean, it's the first time our kids have played in a game. They've had 4 practices together, so they really, you haven't had a power play practice, a penalty kill practice. They haven't. Line rushes are almost brand new, so they really had no. They just went out and played the best they could under the circumstances, and that was really neat for them and for the spectators. We all knew that's what the case was. The first period we were a little slow. We weren't. Our pace was at whoa. We got to catch up a little bit. But they did, and they got going in the second and third periods and made a game of it. And yeah, we got some good support from our goalies early on, and everybody just sort of showed up after that. And yeah, we were happy with the effort.
Yeah, and Pembina Valley came out strong in that game. They played a very good game, I felt, just from commentating that game. And we talked about it during that first intermission, just like you said today as well. Just, the girls haven't had as much reps, as much time as that team has had on the ice, and they've had game situations and you guys didn't coming in. But one thing that I noticed was huge for you guys was your goaltending. Julie Ducharme and even Nicole Johnston coming in and putting up a solid performance. Just speak about how nice it was to see from you as a goalie coach, to see both goalies going at a good level yesterday.
Well, I'll tell you, I sent them a note. I texted them after I got home back to Winnipeg, and we talked to them after the game, of course, right there. But I sent them a note. I was thrilled with their performance. They should have been thrilled with their play. They just stood their ground like they've been there their whole lives, and they've been there for 10 years maybe as goalies. But they just stood their ground, supported their team. We knew that our team was brand new, and we're going to struggle against a team that's been playing for a while now. The good news was Pembina Valley was missing a couple of key players, so we were able to support our team with a little less talent on the other team, and that helped us out, and gave their coaches a chance to look at some of their other players. But the goalies they were ready. They were ready to play a meaningful game for them, for our team. And that's what goalies can do. They can provide the support, give our team a chance to win, to tie, to be close. They did that, and we were pleased with that. I'm thrilled with their game yesterday and their work ethic going into that in 4 days of practice.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, that is a good note with Quinn McLaren and Abby Beaudry being out of that game due to them at the provincial U18 Manitoba skates this weekend. But yeah, definitely a good win not a win, but a good game for you guys to start off with, a 2-2 tie to start off the season when you guys haven't even played a game yet, right? Just talking about the action coming up now, Gordie. A triple header Saturday. The U18s take on Central Plains from the MFHL, and then the boys U15 program kicks off their first ever exhibition games against Rink Hockey Academy in Pembina Valley. And then also on Sunday, we got the U18s playing again against another MFHL team, Eastman, and the U15s get Southwest. So what's the excitement been like around that camp in terms of just the U15s going into not only their first game of the season, but the first game Pilot Mound has ever had U15s playing?
Well, you can't imagine boys that with the testosterone going and hockey being played, and they're all from somewhere else. They all want to show off, and they all want to do something good for their coach. And they're just P and V, so you can figure out what those two words mean in terms of hockey. And there we go. So they're just bouncing off walls. These kids, they just can't get on the ice fast enough and go. They're all speed demons, and they want to show that. So they play Friday in Winnipeg against the Rink in the afternoon, and then they've got game Saturday, game Sunday. The boys do, and then the girls, of course, play again Saturday and Sunday, and so we got 5 games on the weekend with those two teams, and so they'll be tired on the weekend. It'll be fun for them. There'll be a lot of excitement, getting into some game action, getting some idea of what's going on. And the coaches will have a chance to look at them and find out just where they're at, what their habits are. It's fun to see them in practice, but when you get into a game, all of a sudden things change a little bit, and they get doing what they're used to doing. And so then we can try to make adjustments, start doing that for the upcoming season. But lots of excitement. And we expect to have big crowds there too as well.
Yeah, and I guess that the U15s kick off their season a day before Saturday. My apologies on that.
No.
But
okay.
Talking about just what's on tap today, and for just getting prepared for these games, for these teams in the next few days, today and just the days leading up to this weekend.
Well, certainly the coaching staff have a plan. They know when their games are, so they've got a little bit of a plan leading up to the games. And so, when they get games get a bit closer, they're doing a lot of skill stuff, a lot of skating, a lot of getting in shape stuff. So there's a lot of team stuff. There's some line rushes and those kinds of things. They'll get into power play a little bit, maybe PK on Thursday or on Wednesday or Thursday for the boys. The girls will jump into some of that a little bit after they've seen what they can do and not do. The goalies, I'm out there on Tuesdays now, so. This is Monday, so I'll miss today. I'll go out Tuesday. We'll kind of review what we did. We've got a little bit of a plan. So when we go into these kind of things, we know that our teams are going to be a little bit helter-skelter. They won't be a good, team unit stuff happening probably. There's going to be a lot of – we always assume a lot of defensive errors at the start of the year, not just defensemen, but defensive team errors. And we're there to support that. And we're prepared to, be ready for all kinds of weird stuff. And that's good. It gets that. It's a lot of fun. We don't worry about being scored on. We don't worry about making a lot of goals. The coaching staff, we worry about we just want to see how they play and where we can take them in the next few weeks to a month or so. And then as we get into our regular season.
Yeah, for sure. It's going to be interesting to see how this U15 team comes out in their first games ever in Mound Hockey Academy. Just talking about the CSSHL schedule. Any updates on that for us? Well,
the both the male teams, our schedules are in and they're set, and from October the 1st on. Unfortunately, the female games are not listed yet. They're still working on some things there. There's some I'm not sure what they are. I don't do that, and I don't want to speak on behalf of the coaching staffs. And Ernie Sutherland does a lot of that work for us. And if it wasn't for Ernie, we wouldn't get a lot of that done. But anyway, he's busy doing that. So we'll have that up in another week or so, and so we'll know all of that. So October 1st is the beginning, and off we go. And hopefully, COVID's taking a rest. We can get Alberta sort of back in the swing of things, and maybe a little bit of BC and Saskatchewan. Manitoba's in good shape, so right now at least, and we hope that continues.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's just going to be awesome to see that regular season kick off in October for the teams. And yeah, it's going to be fun to be at Pilot Mound again this weekend for myself to cover the female U18 team and just to see what this U15 team will have in store in their first games of this age group's history in the program. Gordie, it's always a pleasure having you on the show. Thanks so much for taking the time on this Monday morning and joining Manitoba Show, Rise and Shine Manitoba.
Thanks, Graeme.
That's Gordie Tumilson, goalie coach and marketing director of Pilot Mound Hockey Academy, joining us here on this September 13th Monday morning here on Manitoba Show. Coming up after the break on Rise and Shine Manitoba, it's going to be Graeme's opinion. It's going to be football talk this week. Stay tuned here after the break on Rise and Shine Manitoba on AETi Productions.
Systems Beauty College is a little bit unique in respect to the way we teach our program. We don't do so much structure and learning and block teaching. Everybody can move along at the pace that suits them. teaching. Everybody can move along at the pace that suits them. If they can move faster, they do so. Therefore, learning everything earlier and getting more practice in all segments of hairstyling as opposed to just being stuck in one section for a certain period of time. So we try to accommodate all the different learning styles.
Welcome back to Rise and Shine Manitoba here on AETi Productions. There it is, the Rise and Shine Manitoba text. Of course, we are live right now on all of our platforms here. Our most notable ones, of course, Facebook at AETi Productions, our website, AETiProductions.com, as well as on our Twitter at Amateur Sports TV. I was just joined by Gordie Tumilson, goalie coach and marketing director of Pilot Mound Hockey Academy, just talking about that 2-2 tie yesterday that the U18s had, the U18 Prep Female team had against the Pembina Valley Hawks. And yeah, it was a fun game to be at. Awesome getting to call a game again. And, it was my third ever play-by-play game. Still working out the kinks. Hopefully I get better soon. But yeah, thanks to everyone who took the time and tuned into the game. It was a lot of fun to see those numbers climb after the game ended as well later in the day. I guess in the night as well yesterday. But yeah, thanks to everyone that took the time to check that one out. Of course, like I said to Gordie, and like me and Gordie talked about, there's going to be a triple header on Saturday, which is going to be fun. I'll be announcing one of those games. It's going to be the U18 Prep Female program taking on Central Plains, which should be another great game. Should be fun to watch. But yeah, and also on Sunday too, we're going to have two games for you guys. So lots of Pilot Mound hockey coming up on the weekend here on AETi Productions. Be sure to check us out on our Facebook and on our website to watch the action coming up this week. But let's get into this segment, Graeme's opinion. And not going to do power rankings this week because I'll be honest, I didn't really have a chance to watch any games this weekend. I was at the MMJHL exhibition game against the Pembina Valley Twisters and Fort Garry Twins on Friday night, so I missed that game on Friday. And on Saturday, it was a triple header. I caught a bit of a banjo bowl, but I'll be honest, I was busy hanging out with some family. My cousin came over and his aunties, so yeah, that's always a tradition that we have on this weekend, on the Banjo Bowl weekend. And yeah, was unable to really watch any CFL action fully, but I was able to watch a bit. Huge win by the Bombers. First off, just talking about the best team in football. They're getting it done in all phases right now. The passing game, the run game, our receivers had a good game as well. And yeah, the defense is just smothering, putting Fajardo out of the game. We were just manhandling them once again. And yeah, I had Saskatchewan winning that game. I thought that they'd, make adjustments and split the head-to-head. I didn't think they were the better team, but, just coming off back-to-backs, you never know what's going to happen. But the Bombers fully establishing themselves as the best team in the CFL. Hands down. I think after that loss against the Argos on that back-to-back, it was obviously a wake-up call, and now the Bombers go out and beat our prairie rival, our big rivals, the Saskatchewan Roughriders, not once but twice, and in dominating fashion. And yeah, basically I just talk about that because being a Bombers fan would always like to rub it in on Saskatchewan fans, even though I picked against the Bombers last weekend. Come on, you gotta know it put a smile on my face when I saw that the Bombers put up the score that they did. But one thing that I think was questionable was Andrew Harris not getting thrown out of that game. Now look, I've said it before, I think so, but I'll say it again, or say it for the first time. I think he's the best running back in football, but in the CFL, obviously, in terms of best running back in football, and I mean that. But yeah, no matter how much of a star player is, I'm not sure if it was that star treatment that he got or if the refs just completely missed it. But how do you not get thrown out of the game when you intentionally rip someone's helmet off? Uh, I think Milt Siegel said it. I'm not sure. Someone on the panel said it, and they're exactly right. Someone without a helmet on the ground in a scrum like that, it's very dangerous. And I'm not sure who got the helmet pulled off, but Andrew Harris, respect to him, one of the greatest CFL players of all time, but ripping someone's helmet off like that, even though he didn't throw any punches, it was intentional him ripping it off. And yeah, I just don't understand why he didn't get thrown out of the game. But as a Bomber fan, that's a plus. Having him in the game, definitely been a game changer for us since he's been back, in my opinion. But let's get into the Week 7 predictions. We got the Ticats and the Stamps going at it on Friday night, as well as the Riders and the Argos, the Elks at home against the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and the Montreal Alouettes coming off a bye week against the BC Lions, who just pumped the Ottawa Red Blacks. What a surprise. Ottawa just hasn't looked great this season. But let's not talk about Ottawa. Let's talk about my Week 7 predictions for the CFL. And looking at this Ticats versus Stamps game, the Ticats losing in a close 17-16 game. Not sure, what exactly happened in that game because I wasn't able to watch it. But just let's take a look at the stats here for that game. So yeah, the Argonauts, forcing Dane Evans on a turnover, or Dane Evans throwing an interception. And, Nick Arbuckle didn't look the greatest in that game by the stats, but still touchdown, still over 200 yards. And yeah, let's talk about just heading in. Calgary coming off a big win off of in that back-to-back against Edmonton, and something that I was surprised about. I guess I didn't read up on it, but Bo Levi Mitchell starting in that game. That was, I think, huge for them to have him back, even though he didn't look spectacular in that game by the numbers. Just having Bo Levi Mitchell back, a proven winner, is huge for this football team, and that's why I'm going to roll with the Stampeders. I think Bo being back is huge. And I think Calgary, if they take advantage of Hamilton's O-line and this offense for Calgary with Bo Levi Mitchell back, is able to operate at a consistent level in this game, I like the Stamps' chances. Hamilton, in my opinion, is a team that's going to be in that conversation, like I said, to get to the Grey Cup from the East. Phenomenal team from top to bottom. It's just going up against Bo Levi Mitchell. It's going to be, I think that this team has a chip on their shoulder. I think just looking at, I saw the end of that game against Edmonton. You can tell that they're coming in with some swagger, with Bo waving to the crowd and stuff like that, coming in with some swagger. I think that this is going to be a close game. I think that there's going to be some field goals involved, but I think I just like Calgary's offense a bit better heading into this game with Bo Levi Mitchell. And I like Calgary's defense against Hamilton. I think that if Calgary can prepare the right way and prepare for this game to, find a way to minimize the runs by Hamilton, make Dane Evans uncomfortable. I think that Calgary is going to take this game if they're able to do that going into Tim Hortons Field, which is a very hard place to win in, right? So it seems. But I think Bo being back is the X factor. I think that he's going to have a good game, solid game, and I think that in a close game, if I'm taking Dane Evans or Bo Levi Mitchell, I'm taking Bo Levi Mitchell almost every time. Heading into the Riders Argos game, the Argos have been very impressive some weeks and not so impressive some other weeks. Um, you know, Looking at that loss to Hamilton, for example, not an impressive game by them, but then they come out and win a close one against them in the back to back. Of course, they're the only team so far that's been able to beat the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, that are the best team in the league, and the Riders weren't able to do that once, which is still very awesome to say. But just looking at it, I feel like the Riders will bounce back and get this one. I think that they're the better team overall over the Argos. That's not to discredit what the Argos have. Of course, they got a lot of good weapons on offense, a good running back, and QBs that, even though I've said they've been inconsistent this year, if they're on, they're on. And I think that the reason I'm picking the Riders in this game, again, I don't see them losing 3 in a row as bad as they got manhandled against Winnipeg. I don't think you can compare Winnipeg to uh, other teams in the league right now at this point, just the way that D line was able to dominate back-to-back weeks, how that defense was able to dominate, and how this offense has really been converting on their drives. But even though the Argos are a team that beat the Bombers, I feel like that is a long time ago. A lot has changed. I think that even though the Riders have struggled, I think that they're going to come in with a lot of motivation to get back into this win column. Cody Fajardo, not by any means. I don't think he's a terrible quarterback. I think that he's a good to very good quarterback when he can be. I like the weapons that Saskatchewan has on offense still. I like their defense, even though the Bombers tore them up. I think that Saskatchewan still has one of the top defenses in the league. It just depends on if the Riders can protect Fajardo, and that's been an issue for them in the past weeks. I think the reason that I'm going with the Riders over the Argos is that was the thing. The Bombers were able to have consistent pressure in their 2 games against the Riders, and I just feel like the Riders going up against a lesser pass rush this week. I don't think they're as good as the Bombers' defense, even though the Argos were able to beat the Bombers. That was because of the offense. But I think that the Riders' defense will be good enough to shut down this offense, and I'm going to go with the Riders in a bounce back game. But if they drop another game, it's going to be very funny. I won't lie. But going with the Riders in this one. The Elks and the Bombers. Bombers facing off against highly powered offense. The Edmonton Elks. Sorry, I almost said the other name, but the Edmonton Elks hosting the Winnipeg Blue Bombers this weekend. And what much more is there to say at this point? The Bombers are the best team in the league. Collaros is playing at an extremely high level right now. Been one of the best quarterbacks in the league this year. How does that sound, Collaros stabbers? But Andrew Harris, he's been great. Even though I think he should have been tossed from that game, he's definitely had an impact on this team since he's been back. I think that this defense for the Bombers is going to be too good for that Edmonton Elks line, as good as Trevor Harris is and the weapons he has around him. We've seen this when he gets pressured a lot by teams and they're able to break through that line. It's with any quarterback, but he starts to kind of struggle a bit and kind of, I think that if the Bombers are able to get consistent pressure like they have been able to do against Saskatchewan the past 2 weeks, I think that Edmonton is going to have some fits all day long in that game. I think that the Bombers offense is kind of found that formula. Drive down the field, get to that goal line, and let Sean McGuire punch it in. And that's really been working for this team as of late. And yeah, I just feel like Collaros is going to continue to play at a high level. And I feel like Andrew Harris is going to have another solid game on the ground. I think that this Bombers team right now is coming in playing with a lot of confidence. There is one thing that could happen in the Bombers losing a game like this, though, coming in with so much confidence. It's if Edmonton is able to start strong. If Edmonton is able to start off strong in this game, I think that it could look a bit different. It all depends on if Edmonton can come out firing out of the gate, putting the Bombers behind the 8 ball, because I think that's the only way that you're going to be able to beat this team, if you're able to, score quick at least. But that means you have to keep it up. So even then, it's a tough task against this Bombers team right now. But just looking at it, I just think the Bombers are going to be too much for Edmonton to handle. This is Edmonton's first time going up against the Bombers this year. Obviously, they're going to have some tape to look at, but I feel like unless you have that game experience against them, you never know. You can never quite tell. So I feel like the Bombers come out, have a good day offensively, have another solid game defensively, and I feel like the Bombers take down the Elks in Edmonton this weekend on Saturday. Looking at the Owls and Lions, and I'm torn between this one, because looking at the Montreal Alouettes, they've been a good team this season. They got one of the most talented QBs in the league, maybe just looking at his skill set, the most talented with just the dual threat QB he is, and Vernon Adams Jr. They got a top RB and William Stanback, and they got some great weapons outside too, some really solid weapons and a good O-line, and they also have a solid defense as well. Then you look at the BC Lions. I think they have the best QB in the game this season in Mike Riley. I'm a firm believer of that. I think that this guy's arm talent is off the charts. They got a high-powered offense as well that is starting to score, even though they've played against Ottawa in their past 2 games. They've shown that they have the ability to go out and put up some points still, and this defense can play solid. We saw it against that Calgary Stampeders team in that week 2 game. But yeah, looking at it, both teams, in my opinion, similar in ways. Both have, in my opinion, solid defenses and high-powered offenses. It's just going to come down to which offense shows up. And the Owls coming off fresher off the bye, maybe Lions coming in with a lot of confidence. This is going to be an interesting game, but I'm going to roll with the Montreal Alouettes, rolling with an East team. I haven't picked an East team in any of the games for these Week 7 predictions yet, but I feel like Vernon Adams Jr. is going to come out to play William Stanback. I think it could have a game on the ground. BC's defense, one thing that they could struggle against is the run. Looking at that matchup against James Wilder Jr. He was able to get his in that game at points. So I think William Stanback is going to be a huge part of this game for the Alouettes. And I feel as though Vernon Adams Jr. is going to come out and do his thing. I think that this is going to be a close game, but in the end, I think the Alouettes will take it. So, yeah, that was some CFL talk. I'm rolling with the Stamps, the Riders, the Bombers, and the Owls, the Alouettes, Montreal Alouettes this weekend. And yeah, hopefully I do better than last week where I went 1 for 3 in my predictions. And it's funny because the week before I went 3-1. 3-1 on my predictions. So hopefully it goes the other way and we see a above 500 prediction record for me this weekend. And if not, we'll try to do better next weekend, or next week on the show. But going into some NFL now, and my full season predictions are going to be up today. We were supposed to be doing an NFL special last Wednesday, pushed that back due to technical difficulties, was going to release it on Saturday, but the guy I was supposed to do it with, Jared Down, host of the AAA show here on the network, had a unfortunate accident. I won't get into the details. He's doing fine. He's doing fine. He not fun, the situation he was put in, but he's safe. He's not gonna die. Don't worry. But yeah, just unfortunate what happened to him. I'm not gonna say what happened now out of the respect for him. I don't know if he wants people to know about it, but wasn't able to put out the NFL special. I'm not gonna give my opinions on my predictions today of how I think the season is going to go, because we're going to be here for another 2 hours probably if we were to do that, an hour or two. But I'm going to give you guys my Super Bowl prediction, and this hasn't changed. None of my predictions have changed even after that first week of play, Monday night or tonight, Raiders and the Ravens. But my Super Bowl prediction, I think it's going to be a rematch. I think that it's going to be the Chiefs and the Bucks. Just looking at the Bucks, they're returning all starting players. Tom Brady looked and played excellent. Both interceptions, in my opinion, weren't his fault. Both should have been caught. More so the first one, I didn't really get a chance to see. The second one, no, actually, what am I saying? The first interception, he went for a Hail Mary, and then the second interception went off of Fournette's hands. So the first one, he took a risk at the end of the half, and on the second one, Fournette should have caught that ball. It hit his hands. But just looking at the weapons, I was talking about the Dallas and Bucks game, by the way, on that Thursday nighter. But looking at the weapons this team has, they got weapons coming from all places. It seems like you got Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, not to mention Antonio Brown, who had a huge game on that Thursday nighter. Then you got Gronk, who some people, you consider him as like the fourth or fifth option on that team. This team is just absolutely stacked at that wide receiver possession. They got a lot of depth, and adding a guy like Giovanni Bernard to that backfield, who kind of fits that, something that Tom Brady likes to do, which is throw the ball to the running backs. I think that's going to be huge, and add another element. You also got Leonard Fournette and Ronald Jones there as well in the backfield. So this team loaded on offense. They got the go-to QB, and the defense, even though they were getting beat up in that game against Dak had a great performance. It comes down to just how strong this D-line and linebacking core is for this team. I'd say the only weakness that this team has is maybe their cornerbacks. Yeah, I'd say their cornerbacks is probably the weakness of that defense. But hey, look, if you're getting pressure on the QB, giving your corners time to, cover these receivers out there, these highly skilled receivers in the NFL, it's going to result in some good things for that defense. Just looking at games last year, the 2 games against Aaron Rodgers and the Super Bowl against Patrick Mahomes, even though that Chiefs O-line wasn't 100%, I still give all the credit in the world to the Bucks for how they were able to come out in that game and dominate like they did defensively. But they weren't able to, sack Dak that much in that game, and I feel like that offense came out and had a good game plan for the Bucks. I wouldn't worry about this D right now, even though they didn't look the greatest in that first week. It's a long season, week one. People gotta stop overreacting about week one. But then you look at the Chiefs, as well. Bucks have a great coach as well. And then you look at the Chiefs. I think that, skill wise, they got the best QB in the game, and Patrick Mahomes. Pair that with some elite weapons and Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, looking at their other weapons too, and a guy like Mecole Hardman. Looking at Clyde Edwards-Helaire coming into his second season. I'm not quite sure how he did yesterday. Didn't quite get to see the stats. Just putting it simple, this offense with Patrick Mahomes and the weapons they have is just absolutely terrifying for teams. And it's an offense that you can never count out of a game. And the one of the biggest issues, probably the biggest issue they had in the Super Bowl last season was the O-line. Constant pressure on Mahomes all night long in that Super Bowl last season. And, sometimes Bucks would have a guy coming, from another place and getting pressure on Mahomes, not just those 4 D linemen rushing, but most of the time it was those 4 D linemen rushing for the Bucks, and they dominated that Chiefs O-line. The Chiefs have upgraded the O-line immensely. Even though they lost Eric Fisher, they were able to add some 2 All-Pros. And also a guy like Orlando Brown. I'm not sure if he's been an All-Pro or not, but they revamped the offensive line. And look, the defense, even though it's not the best defense in the league, this is a team that can come out and come up clutch defensively when a team needs to stop. Just looking at the game, for example, yesterday against the Browns in that last drive, able to get pressure on Baker and force that interception. You still got Chris Jones. You got a guy like Frank Clark, Tyrann Mathieu. I don't even know if those guys were playing yesterday, but still, this defense is not the greatest, but they're not the worst. They're about, they're an above average defense, I would say. In my opinion, just with their ability to take away the ball in some key moments. But, just looking at it, what was the problem with the Chiefs last season in the Super Bowl? It was their O-line and their play calling. Their O-line couldn't protect Patrick Mahomes, and their play calling didn't adjust to those short passes. They kept trying to go with those big plays and warranted they were down. They never really changed the game plan offensively, given Patrick Mahomes the plays that he needed in that game, I think, to fully succeed. And the receivers also let down Mahomes a bit. He made some amazing throws in that Super Bowl last season that, the receivers just couldn't make plays on it. And that was a credit to that Bucks defense, always, putting pressure on those receivers. But going into this season, this was a tough one because the Bucks returning all starting players to this team. You don't want to bet against the GOAT, but I can't ignore what the Chiefs were able to do, and I can't ignore where Patrick Mahomes is at in his career right now. I believe this Chiefs team is motivated. I feel like, the offense is going to be the men again. I think they're going to be those guys. I got Patrick Mahomes winning the MVP as well. I think that this offense is in for a huge year. I think this team is in for another huge year. I think that last year for this Chiefs team was an experience that the group needed. They've never really lost this bad ever. Been dominated this bad, and I think that it comes down to just Tampa being better on the field and Tampa being better prepared. Tampa beat them down in last year's big game in all phases of the game. Tom was terrific. Picked apart that Chiefs defense. They dominated the line offensively and forced Patrick Mahomes to be perfect. But, I had the Bucks at first, but I'm going to go against the grain. I'm going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs in this game. I think that they're going to get revenge. Like I said, it was a test that, or I haven't said this yet. It was a test that, the Chiefs have never faced before, this Bucks team. And I think just having the off season to sit on it, just coming in, being motivated, having that chip on your shoulder, just looking at what they've improved. They added a bit to their defense, I believe, up front in terms of getting more pass rush on that D line. They upgraded that O line immensely. Patrick Mahomes is still here. You got, two top receiving players in the league in Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce there. Look, I know that I've said in the past on the Prospect Show, I said that, I'm not going to bet against Tom Brady again, but I'm going to go a bit different. The loss in the Super Bowl, I don't think it is going to be on Tom Brady. I think it's just going to be this Chiefs offense coming out and dominating, not dominating, sorry. This Chiefs offense coming out and executing is what I meant to say. I think that they've learned from this past game. I'd like to think that they're going to learn from it, from that Super Bowl last year. And if that O-line is able to hold up this season, stay healthy, just with the players that they've added on that O-line, adding some all-pros, if this game, if the Chiefs are able to come out and do the things like they're usually able to and prepare for this Bucks team, just talking about Andy Reid designing a game plan that, I think could better pick apart this Bucks defense. I think that if this O-line comes out and plays, I think that this is going to be a classic of a Super Bowl. But I'm going to go with the Chiefs because I feel like Patrick Mahomes coming in motivated, chip on his shoulder, just looking at the improvements that this team made. I think that, looking into the future of this game, if this does happen, I think that it's going to be a much closer game. I think that it's going to be a higher scoring game. And I think in a shootout, I think that the Chiefs will be able to get the better of the Buccaneers. And to be honest, I don't think Tom is going to have an awful game in the Super Bowl at all. I don't think he's going to have a bad game. I think he's going to have a great game. It's just, I'm more so betting on the Chiefs offense and Patrick Mahomes. Just looking at it, like I said, I think he's the most talented QB in the NFL right now at this point with all the weapons in the world. We know this defense has been able to come out and play at points, even though, it's always been Patrick Mahomes that has led the charge. If this defense is able to get more pressure on Brady in the Super Bowl, if this defense is able to, disrupt things, I think that the Chiefs, paired with their offense, will be able to, capture the Super Bowl and get revenge. I think they're motivated coming in. I feel like that's a strong possibility. But yeah, that's my Super Bowl prediction. I think that the Chiefs take down the Bucks. Who knows? My prediction could change going into the into the playoffs, but we shall see. I'm rolling with the Chiefs right now. I just got this feeling that the Chiefs are going to avenge their loss and win the Super Bowl in a very close, high-scoring Super Bowl this season. So, yeah, that's going to do it for this edition of Rise and Shine Manitoba on ASTV Productions. Thank you to everyone that took the time out of their Monday morning for tuning in to Manitoba's show. Special thanks to my guest in Harry Siemens and Gordie Tumilson for coming on today's edition of the show as well. And special thanks to our sponsors in Fabricland Winkler, Evolve Green, AETi, and Systems Beauty College for sponsoring another edition of the show. We'll be back for Rise and Shine Manitoba next week on Monday at 10 a.m. Central Daylight Time, live on ASTV Productions on Facebook. You can catch it there on our website at astvproductions.com, or you can also check out next week's edition of the show on our Twitter at Amateur Sports TV. But until I see you folks next Monday, I've been your host of Rise and Shine Manitoba, Graeme Forsyth, signing off. Manitoba, enjoy the rest of your Monday. Stay safe out there and have a wonderful week and weekend as well. Peace out, everyone.